1874 Preview Show.
Oh, hello, welcome back to 1874. Background a bit slow to populate there. Adam Bates. Hope everyone is doing well. I am, of course, joined by my good friend David Reed to preview Aston Villa against Everton. Saturday, another tea time kickoff for Aston Villa Football Club. We didn't do a podcast this week, so this show is sponsored by NordVPN, and you can grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to 1874.io/NordVPN. And if you do that, you'll get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, and you'll also get 4 months absolutely free. And it's also completely risk-free as well, because Nord offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. And you'll hear a little bit more about Nord later on in the show. David, international break is over. So we're back to the Premier League. Villa with a good, without being disrespectful to Everton's start, although it has been a really bad start, it's a good chance for Villa to look for 3 wins out of 4 to start the season, which is a brilliant start given the fixtures.
Yeah, definitely. I think, Everton have been difficult opposition, I suppose. If you take out the home game last year, where it was a bit of a thrashing for Everton against us last season at home. But I mean, they've had obviously a terrible start. But Villa will look at this game and really think it's an opportunity to take 3 points and make a kind of good start now into a really good start.
Yeah, a bit of but you're saying that. I feel like Villa beat Everton every time they play them in the league. I feel like we've had some really good days against them. I've got no stats in front of me whatsoever, but I can remember a lot of wins since we've returned to the Premier League. I don't think Everton have scored past us for a long, long time. So, we are a bit of a bogey team for Everton. So they'll be coming to Villa Park off the back of a bad start. I'm sure their fan base won't be massively enthused.
Yeah, no, I don't think they are. I remember the EFL Cup game last season at home, which was a bit of a shocker all round. And then the away game at Goodison last year turned into a bit of a fight by the end of it. I mean, it was a kind of good performance from Villa on the day, and I was really impressed. I remember with Longley, the way he stood up to the physical challenge that Everton posed at Goodison Park. But I think the Everton fan base are a little bit concerned. I think we saw that at the end of the game that they lost to Bournemouth. I think it was the latest that a side had ever lost a 2-goal lead in the Premier League, 2-0 up, and ended up conspiring to lose it by 3-2. And the Everton fans let their discontent really show towards the end of that game. And I think Sean Dyche said as well in his post-match that he could feel it in the air. As soon as one went in, he could feel it in the air. And I think that translated onto the players. So whether that will be in the back of their minds this week, I think the best thing for them really was to have this international break and just get away from it and then come back and refresh. And I think it gave and has given Sean Dyche an opportunity to work on things on the training ground, because he's known as a kind of defence first, solid, out of possession manager, and Everton have looked far from that so far this season.
There's no getting away from that last game. It was an absolute shock. I think the worst thing as well, looking back at it, was it could have actually been more. Bournemouth must have had a record number of shots in a 10-15 minute spell in the game, because it felt like Pickford made a couple of saves as well. That I know it's been an international break, but they're still going to be really, really fragile. I've not looked at their team news. I don't think Branthwaite is back. Obviously, the press conferences haven't taken place at the time we're recording this show, but Villa could score early in this one. You'd think they might go under again.
Yeah, absolutely. If Villa can get an early goal, then you would think that it's going to be tough for Everton to come back, especially as we know how well Villa lead games as well. And defensively, Michael Keane and James Tarkowski have never fully convinced me at the top level. Certainly on Michael Keane's point of view, they've had issues at right back.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, and they've had issues at right back. Obviously, Ashley Young got sent off earlier in the season, and Mikalenko at left back. I think if you look at the Bournemouth game as a whole for Everton, they might think that they possibly could have been more goals in front. I know they went on to lose it, and it was a horrible way to lose it in the end. But I think if they looked at the game as a whole, the kind of 85 minutes that they played, I think Everton might feel that they could have got more goals and be further in front in that game. So I think they'll take heart from that. I think they look slightly better. I think Dwight McNeil has been playing a little bit more centrally for them, and they've moved out Decore out of the team, and it's Timo Rabunam and Idrissa Gueye as the two holding midfielders. And then Dwight McNeil has been a little bit more central behind them Ilman and Dyer's come into the team, who I really liked from back in his Sheffield United days, and now he's obviously back and playing in the Premier League now with Everton. I think he's a real talent, and I'm sure he will go on to be a good, solid Premier League player. He's kind of feeling his way into the team, starting in a position that's out wide. I think he might feel that he's better up front, but it might mean that he develops this season into a second striker alongside Calvert-Lewin. But he's kind of feeling his way into Premier League football at the moment. And then they've got options on the left as well. So, yeah, I think it depends how they set up, really. They might decide to go, look, we're just not going to concede after what happened at Bournemouth and stick Doucouré back in and go, defence first for Sean Dyche. Or they might decide to try and throw a little bit of caution to the wind and play a little bit more attacking at Villa Park. So we'll have to see how they set up on the night.
Yeah, I mean, I can't claim to watch Everton every week because I don't, but Doucouré felt like a big part of what was good for Everton last season. He feels very much like a Sean Dyche player as well. To me, so it seems a bit of a funny one that he's not playing for them at the moment. But I guess the big storyline going into this game will be the fact that, Onana is up against his old club, and Tim Iroegbunam as well. You mentioned Idrissa Gana Gueye as well, who obviously used to play for Villa as well, but he's been back to Villa Park before. That's an interesting storyline, isn't it? I think Everton fans have largely been relatively impressed by Iroegbunam, but they must be watching Onana at Villa and thinking, Jesus, like, why is he so good for them? And, he wasn't that expansive for Everton for obvious reasons, because they play a different style for Villa. But I've been looking at Onana myself and thinking, I always thought there was a good player there, but I wasn't 100% convinced. But watching him for Villa, he's a lot better. He's a better footballer than I thought he was.
Yeah, I mean, I did always think that, because I remember I remember seeing an interview with Roberto Martinez, and he was talking about Onana before he joined Everton, saying that this guy is going to go right to the very top. He has got everything you need for a modern day central midfielder. And he was talking about looking past the obvious physical presence that he have into actually him being a really good technical footballer already at a young age. And I think from Everton supporters' point of view, I speak to a few Everton fans, and I think they were of the mind that he'd kind of gone as far as he could at Everton, and they weren't seeing the kind of extra level that he was capable of. And you can put that down to lots of different things. And one thing you mentioned there was the style and the fact that the players around him perhaps weren't as good as certainly that he's been playing with at international level. But I think when Villa signed him, I was very excited because I'd seen some of that technical capacity in the past and know that he has got such a high ceiling as a footballer, and the fact that he's played in at least three, but I'm only going off the top of my head, but I think he might have played in like 4 out of the top 5 leagues in Europe already at such a young age. And he is already a vital part of what Aston Villa are doing this season. So I think some Everton fans were quite pleased with the fee they got, and they hadn't quite seen the extra level that he's capable of. But I kind of did think that he's got everything, and I'm glad that he's already showing it in an Aston Villa shirt. I think the environment at Villa, the fact that it's a club going in the right direction, is something that's obviously going to help him expand his game.
Yeah, I watched him play for Belgium on Monday night. It must have been. I watched him play against France. Him and Tielemans in the Belgium midfield. Obviously, they'll be in the Villa midfield this weekend. Selection-wise, as I've said, press conferences haven't been done yet. I'm not expecting to see Leon Bailey, just based on the fact that it looked like a hamstring injury, so you'd think that's going to rule him out for at least 3-4 weeks. I'm not expecting to see Leon Bailey. We're assuming then that John McGinn will move out to the right and Jacob Ramsey will come in and play on the left. Is that how you think Villa will line up, Dave?
Yeah, I think so. I think that feels about right. I can't imagine there'll be too much tinkering. I think obvious question marks is how Ezri Konsa comes back after the international break, and I don't think you can understate his importance, not just because of the quality of player that he is, but I think when you look beyond Ezri Konsa and the depth there, it's probably an area that Villa could do with strengthening in going forward. And the fact that he is so good and he's such an important player, I think that's going to be really important that he comes back okay international football. And then I think it'll be pretty much not too many changes. I think, as long as Ollie Watkins is okay, I think he'll probably start. I can understand the John Duran opinion because he's done so well coming off the bench, but I think Watkins is probably playing himself in, and he deserves another opportunity. I think that's probably where we're going to go. I'm just going to correct myself from earlier because I think I said Onana played in 4, but I just had a quick check there. He's played in three of the top 5 leagues already. So I'll correct myself for the comments.
I probably did I pulled a face when you said that, as if to say, I'm not sure about that, Dave Reed, my old friend. Not sure that's sure. So I'm racking my brains for what leagues he could have played in. You've completely sent me off track, correcting yourself. Because we don't know. This is a hard preview to do because we're doing it on a Thursday. So Diego Carlos was injured last time, so if Conte doesn't make it, I'm assuming Bergard would have to come and play centre back with Pau Torres, and Nedeljkovic would play right back. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think Carlos is going to be fit from
inside sources.
Well, not necessarily. No, not necessarily. But I think Carlos is going to be fit. And then I guess there will be. I'm interested in people's kind of take on how Bogard got on against Leicester, because I was really impressed with his composure in pre-season. I thought he looked the part. He didn't look out of place in pre-season, and I think in the game against Leicester, I thought he did fine. I think he struggled a little bit when Mavididi came on and he had a direct runner at him. But I think you can kind of put that down to a little bit of an experience, probably, yes. But then also, a Premier League start, the adrenaline rushing, I think by 60, 70 minutes, you are kind of out on your feet a little bit as a young player coming into a Premier League game. And then again, Nedeljkovic, I thought he did fine again, coming on and kind of managing to stop that threat down the left-hand side. So I think Bogard probably deserves a chance again. If I don't think Cash is going to be back till another couple of weeks. I don't think so. Certainly, the back 4 is a question whether you change that and bring Nedeljkovic in, or whether you give Bogard another chance. I think he's probably warranted another go at right back. And again, it's one of those that supporters have to keep in mind that it would be a similar situation of what I've said already with Nedeljkovic, that he's a young player. You're going to have peaks and troughs in their form in their season. So I think it's one where you kind of cut him a little bit of slack. And I think there's something there, and Unai Emery has seen something there. He's got an ability to play in different positions, centre back, right back, and also in midfield too. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he develops.
Yeah, I think for Bogard in that Leicester game, I think it wasn't necessarily the easiest game to come into, because it was a very, very bitty game. I think if you were to pick a man of the match for Villa that day, it would be a struggle. I think the man of the match would have probably done a 7 out of 10 job. Tillemans, for example, thought he had a good game in midfield, but it would have been it was a difficult first start. I almost feel like him coming, if he plays in this game, it's easier for him, because I don't think it'll be as bitty, but we'll have we'll have a lot of the ball. Everton will sit back, I expect. And I think that will just make life a little bit easier for him, be able to feel his way into the game better than he could against Leicester. It was just a horrible game. I think that Leicester game, the ref was quite overzealous with cards and giving free kicks and whatnot. So I think if he plays this one, I think it's a better environment for him to be in than that first game.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how Everton set up, because if you're Sean Dyche, you look at that right back position, you look at a young, inexperienced player, and you think, can we target him in our press? And Everton have been one of the sides that like to. Now you can question mark the kind of coordination of their press, but they do like to get after teams, and they do like to put lots of pressures on the opposition in their defensive third. Now, when and if they are able to turn the ball over, that's when Everton have really struggled to create chances. But they do like to get after teams, and if you're an opposition manager, it's one of those that you would think about targeting him early. So, but by the same token that I agree, it's a good game for him to play at home, where Villa will be looking to dominate the ball. I'll be interested to see how Everton go about defending it.
It is a game of returns, isn't it? I've just remembered Ross Barkley will be on Villa's bench probably as well. So Villa have got 2 ex-Everton central midfielders, and Everton have got 2 ex-Villa central midfielders. So there's a lot of like players who basically played for both teams is the best way of me to explain there. You touched on Duran and Watkins. I always just think if something's working well, you don't really change it. If it's working well, bringing Duran on of 60, 70 minutes, then, continue doing that. Because Watkins needs to feel his way back in. I think taking him out right now won't do any good for him. I do think as the season goes on now, last season it was very clear Watkins would play in pretty much every game. Duran would come in for Conference League, Cup games, and that was how it was going to be. I think Watkins would have started every league game. I don't remember. Maybe he missed one. Maybe he missed one game, Ollie Watkins. But this season, it will be different because of the Champions League. It might be that there's a Premier League game and we play Champions League on a Tuesday and Duran does play that game. But I don't think that will be this weekend. Obviously, we've got Saturday, Tuesday this week. I think it'll be Watkins for both.
Yeah, I suspect so. Yeah, I think, that it's almost the John Duran situation is heightened a little bit because almost even as supporters and people who watch football, it's almost like, you're kind of treading on eggshells almost as supporters with him as well. You kind of you know that there might be something coming round the corner in terms of, is there going to be an explosion from the player? And he's like, I should be playing, I should be this, and the kind of, we go through that kind of hamster wheel again of going round in circles of, he thinks he wants to be Villa starting striker, and Unai Emery and the coaches think Ollie Watkins is ahead of him at the moment, and he's got the potential to get there, but he's not the finished article. It's kind of that situation revolves around again. But if I'm John Duran at the moment, I'm thinking, get my head down, and I'm going to make it impossible for this manager, not to select me. And I'm going to think that I'm going to take full advantage while Ollie Watkins is feeling his way in to make as big an impact as possible off the bench. Scoring goals is the perfect response to everything that's happened in the last few weeks and months. And from his point of view, it's about, as I say, making it as impossible as he can for the manager not to select him. And when it comes around to those big games, he can then rightfully, if we get into game week 7, game week 8, and Ollie Watkins hasn't scored, then there's an argument for him to be knocking on the manager's door and saying, look, I want to be playing. And I think maybe the perception amongst the fan base would change at that point and say, let's maybe take Ollie Watkins out the firing line a little bit. But we're not at that stage right now. Although I have been very impressed with how Duran has come off the bench. I've also been impressed with how and the positions that Ollie Watkins is getting in. It feels like just a matter of time before he gets that goal and he's off and running for the season. Yeah,
I think Duran's a bit more settled. He's moved house, so he's away from the bright lights of the city centre now. So that seems to have settled him down. I think he's doing all the right things at the moment. You're right. He does always feel like he could just come out and say something at any time. But almost Monchi put out that fire in the week with his quotes, kind of just saying every club in the land wants John Duran, would like to sign him. 40 clubs, I think it was, that he said, kind of saying John Duran thinks he's better than Ollie Watkins. But that's normal. Every footballer backs themselves. I feel like Monchi played a bit of a blinder in the week, kind of extinguishing anything that could happen through the season. And I can definitely envisage a world where, Wolves next weekend, Duran plays that game and Watkins is kind of kept a little bit fresher for Bayern Munich. I can definitely envisage a world where that happens. I think that's a good thing for Villa to have those two options, because it is hard to keep two strikers happy, especially when you've got a quality striker like Ollie Watkins and then a young up-and-coming striker who could go on to be the next big thing. So actually being in the Champions League could help us with that element, I think, moving forward. 1874 is proudly sponsored by NordVPN, so when you can't watch it, we want to help you. NordVPN is a secure and private service which works on pretty much any device, including your laptop, mobile, and television. So if you want to watch some live content, it allows you to appear like you're in another country. And whilst you're connected, no one else can find out what you're doing, including your internet service provider. Beyond this, the service also has threat protection baked in to protect you from intrusive website ads and malware, which is pretty handy for you. As part of NordVPN support performance for free, this also includes Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. All you've got to do is go to 1874.io/NordVPN and sign up. All the details are also in the description. As always, we're very grateful to anyone that signs up. We know that money is tight, but if you think NordVPN will help you out, it will also help keep the channel running and help us too. Let's finish then with our either hot or ice cold take ahead of the Everton game. Dave, I believe my hot take was correct last time we did a preview show. I said Onana would score off a set piece, and he did. I think that's what I said. And then we both said that Watkins would score, and he didn't.
Yeah.
So what are we going with? What's your take for this one? And we'll decide next week whether it was hot or ice cold.
Hot or not.
Yeah.
Okay, right. What's going to be my hot take? I'm gonna back Ross Barkley to come off the bench and score in a 3-0 win.
You've gone absolutely wild with a hot take there, Dave. I can tell you now already that's an ice cold take because you've took two things in there. You're not going to get the goal scorer and the score right. You're just not going to. You're just not going to do that. So you've gone huge. Why did you go so huge?
I don't know what's happened. I'll take one of that. If one of those happens,
well,
I'll be happy. If Barkley comes off the bench, that's half a win, right?
Yeah. I'm going to go with Villa get a penalty, and we find out who our penalty taker is this season. That's my take.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Going into the game. I haven't had a penalty yet, have we? So we'll see. I bet if John Duran's on the pitch, if we get a penalty, was me one bit. But yeah, it's kind of more of a niche take, that one. You've just gone all out attack with yours. I'm not sure what made you do that, Dave. Lack of sleep with the young lad keeping you awake through the night all of a sudden. Just give the viewership and the listenership a little update how young Teddy is getting on, Dave.
Yeah, he's doing okay. It's hard work. Everyone tells you it's hard work, but it's relentless. And they think he's got a bit of a dairy intolerance, which not good when all you drink is milk. So we're finding our way through that situation at the moment. But yeah, on the whole, he's doing good. He's great. Thank you.
Good. I'm sure everyone will be very pleased to hear that. That does us, Dave. I mean, we're going to have to do our first Champions League match preview probably on a Sunday or a Monday here. This is going to be. We're going to have to get that out there. That's going to be. I mean, you talk about relentless. The schedule's going to get relentless for us with the match previews now. Did loads of content on the channel last week and then didn't do anything this week. Gave myself a little bit of a rest. But there's some timeless content in there to go back and have a listen or a watch of. We had Conor Harahan on the channel last week for an hour. Always a pleasure. People just firing questions at him, and he answered them. And there was also the little matter of Champions League prices that was discussed. Also going over to Claret and Blue. It's a rival channel, of course, but go back and check that out on Claret and Blue. Myself, Max Stokes, Ty Bracey, James Rushton, and of course Dan Robinson did an in-person podcast. This is going to be a once a month thing, and of course we ended up chatting around Champions League prices as well. Go back and watch that. It's gone down. I think it's got 15k views, which is absolutely ridiculous, and it'll probably have a lot of audio listeners as well. So yeah, all of us helping Rollo out, which makes absolutely no sense at all because he doesn't pay. Rollo, he's a tight ass. Right, let's go before I slag anyone else off. Dave, thank you ever so much for joining me. Adam, thank you for sponsoring me. Adam, thank you for producing, and NordVPN, thank you for sponsoring. We'll be back. There's got to be something coming up on Sunday or Monday. Could even be a Greg pod on Sunday. I don't know, but we'll keep you across everything we're doing on our socials. Have a good rest of the week, and I will see you down Villa Park Saturday tea time. Will I be walking out with way on my feet? Who knows? Up the